All right, I see the guest is in the back chat here. Oh, yes. The Misfit Patriot. I don't know what his name is. I know maybe I should know what his name is. I'm going to ask him first things first. Misfit, I'm going to bring you in. We're going to start on YouTube, and then we're going to end it and go over to Rumble, and then I'll post this entire thing to YouTube afterwards. Bringing you in, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, sure. What's up? It's Zach, by the way.
Zach, is your last name known as well?
Bonfilio, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've been doxxed more than anybody on the internet. I was doxxed yesterday.
Well, you can't be doxxed if your name is out there, because then it's already out there.
It's public information. Real quick, I just wanted to Bonfilio, Italian, means good son. Just real quick before we get started, I wanted to say something about the Ian Carroll thing. I think that you covered it very fairly. I know people who know Ian. I've heard he's a really nice guy. I really don't have a problem personally with him. The problem I have with him and others is something you asked, what the problem is with him. Facts without context is propaganda, and conclusions based on facts without context is conspiracy theory. What Ian does, you said, did he say anything unfactual? No. He just doesn't provide the context. For instance, the Rothschilds, he calls, this Zionist propaganda, the Rothschilds funded this and funded that. The Rothschilds didn't necessarily fund anything. They didn't fund the founding of Israel. Theodore Herzl, who was the father of modern Zionism, there's this conspiracy theory that the Rothschilds worked with him. And if you go back and verify it, then they actually weren't. So when you're asking like people that can contest him, there are plenty of people that can contest him. He's gaining a lot of credibility. And again, I don't want to go down his road and say conspiracy theory, but his engagement is, let's say, not normal, if that makes sense. So the same arguments that he makes about just asking questions, I could ask the same questions as to why a post of his that gets, 1 million views will gain him 100,000 followers, and a post of mine that gains 10 million views will gain me about 2,000. So we're not going to go down that road. What I'm saying
is, I got to stop you at least at some point. I want to come back to the facts without context as propaganda, because that becomes the argument for everybody who wants to say you didn't give all the context, so you gave some.
Well, you don't have to give all of it. You just
I'm sorry. Facts without context almost seems. I don't want to say it sounds like an oxymoron, because a fact you would think does not need the context.
I'll give you an example if this helps. Right? Facts without context. Epstein has ties to Mossad. Fact. Okay. Epstein's ties to Mossad is from the previous administration, Ehud Barak, which everyone in Israel currently agrees is essentially like the deep, like he said, it's kind of like the deep state of America. It would be like saying America is corrupt, even though Donald Trump is the president, because Joe Biden was corrupt. Do you understand? So he's creating a false equivalency between the current administration, government corruption, and how the entire system of Israel is corrupt and controls America. Another fact he gives without context.
Well, hold on, but let's stop with the first one. To me, it sounds like you want context to be explaining away the fact. Like, all right, yeah.
I don't want it to explain away.
Well, so if it's factually correct that Epstein has ties to Mossad, your context is only going to either attenuate or attempt to attenuate or attempt to normalize that fact.
No,
but everyone does it, so therefore it's in context not that big of a deal.
No, I'm not doing whataboutism. I'm saying that if you specifically deliver a fact, right, without providing at least some context on both sides, or at least contextualizing it to the point where you can argue the other side, then I believe you are spreading propaganda. I believe if you're trying to make a point, then you can make it based off of limited facts. Like again, another fact without context from Ian is this AIPAC. Everybody's like AIPAC controls Congress. AIPAC controls Congress. AIPAC is number 20th in lobbying. They're 199th in lobbying, 20th in financial. The National Association of Realtors is number 1. So by the same logic, you could say the National Association of Realtors is responsible for the California wildfires. That's what I'm saying. The National Association of Realtors is the number 1 contributor, right? They have the most influence over our Congress. That's a fact because they're the number 1 contributor. But jumping to a conclusion based off of that fact without context is what I'm saying. It's a conspiracy theory. If he can prove it, then he would provide full context to back up his claim. And in his own interview with Joe Rogan, he says, look, hey, you guys should fact check me because I don't know if what I'm saying is actually true.
No, well, that's not what he said. He says, fact check me to make sure that what I'm saying is true. And if it's not, I'll happily correct myself.
Well, I just did. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's got the
platform. But no, you might not be proving the point you think you're proving either, that if the AIPAC is not, I'm looking it up. I know it's substantial, but I don't know, it doesn't seem to be top 10. If they're not top 10 and yet still command a disproportionate amount of influence,
how do they command influence though? They do. It's just taught. You're just saying they have influence, right? There's no proof that they have influence. So the A in AIPAC stands for American. It's American Israelis. It's not Israel. It's Americans. It's American citizens. And listen, by the way, I think all PACs should either be illegal or they should all be on the same level playing field where they all have a donation amount that they can cap out at. Like if it's $1 million for AIPAC, it should be $1 million for the National Association of Realtors. But I'm not here to defend PACs. What I'm saying is the hyperfixation on one PAC when we have a AIPAC, right? There's AIPAC, which is 1A. There's AIPAC, which is the Arab American Political Action Committee. Nobody talks about the influence that the Arab American Political Action Committee has, like Qatar donating millions of dollars to schools and institutions in America. What I'm saying is I keep hearing that you can't ask questions, right? You can't ask questions about Israel. That's all they're fucking doing. I mean, that's all I'm seeing is people asking questions about Israel, but that's all they're doing. They're not asking questions, they're asking leading questions. All right, find answers. I'm way more comfortable with you finding answers than asking questions. And it's nothing against Ian, it's nothing against you or anybody else that asks them. My question is, why aren't you asking all of the questions?
No, but that's again, it's a cop. And when people say you only criticize AIPAC, no, people criticize the pharma influence every day of the week, including Ian. So it's not true to say that he's only picking on one. He's picking on the ones that he thinks are morally or patriotically offensive.
Sure.
And so people rightly pick on the pharma influence.
So wouldn't you agree that if that's what he's doing, then he's looking for confirmation bias, right? Because he's finding the PAC he wants to talk about, highlighting the influence that PAC has over Congress.
Yeah, it's called picking a topic for an essay. I don't have all topics.
It's what I do. It's what I do with a lot of my content, with Tate's, with everything.
Well, come back to the other thing where where you're just asking questions. You say he puts up a post, it gets 1 million views and gains him 100,000 followers. You put up one, it gets 10 million views, it only gets 2,000. It might be because your post is rage baiting but not substantive, and his are substantive and not rage baiting.
Oh, it very well could be. I've looked through the disproportionate analytics, and his doesn't line up with any standard engagement. Also, as somebody that's gone back and forth with him personally and had the bot farm attacks, it's very different when I get from him, and that's subjective. That's me just interpreting it. I'm not making an accusation. I really am not, and I'm not even asking a question. I'm saying that Ian has blown up very quickly, right? For somebody that would be in that space. He's immediately got going on InfoWars, Joe Rogan, and he's spreading this. So a lot of people are asking that question. Is this a psyop? Is this manufactured? Is he being placed there to spread anti-Israel propaganda? Because that's exactly what he would say if he was looking at it from the other side.
True. And I might say those people who say his growth is inorganic are jealous that their content is not catching as much and it's not converting as much. And that's it's what everybody says whenever that. And I try to avoid doing that myself. Like, oh, this post didn't get as much traction as I thought it should get.
I don't care about views. Like I really want to be very clear about that. It's not jealousy. I don't.
Do you have a cat in the background?
I have a dog.
Okay, fine. Oof, okay, well, you saved 1 point of a negative and then gained 1 point of a positive. What kind of dog?
A little bull terrier. He's the man.
Okay, Gatsby. You just got 2 points. Okay,
Gatsby. Yeah.
So well, and by the way, I want to do this over on Rumble, but not because I want to.
Oh no, I love Rumble.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna end it on CommieTube, and then I'll post the entire thing afterwards because we will go in a fair bit of detail about other things. So hold on, I'm just gonna end this on CommieTube, which is right here, and come on over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com. It's not members only, so everybody can. It's not supporters only, so you can go there or Rumble. Get the link. Did I send the link out? Let me just get the link to everybody. Because we're going to get into this stuff now. Link. Boom. Here. And one more here. Link. Here. What do you do for? May I ask what you do for a living?
Oh yeah, sure. I do kitchen and bathroom remodeling. I own a company. I was actually doing a shower today, and I had to run out to get material. I'm on my lunch break essentially. I can go back whenever. It's no rush. Customer's not there today, but I do custom kitchen and bathroom remodeling. Basically,
So
really nice.
there's no doxing for you. This is publicity, and I say that not simply.
You know what, dude? They've tried. I had when I was first attacked, it was the radical left. Now I'm sort of getting attacked from the radical right, and it's very similar. A few years ago, I've been banned more than any person on the internet. They've banned over 360 TikTok accounts when I was doing it, because what they would do is mass report and harass me. But they left over 700 negative business reviews on my my business page. They tried stalking me and getting me fired. I would get phone calls to my cell phone, which is my business line, and they would be like, your employees are racist. And I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, he's fired. So I've dealt with the full weight of the internet more than once, which is why I think that I'm so unfazed at Tate supporters coming at me. And
Well,
like
I'll tell you what, from my experience, the Tate haters are by far more vitriolic than the Tate supporters.
I mean, you're on one side of it. I would make an
argument.
I'm
not on either side of it. It seems that you sit in the middle, and I'm not trying to sit on the fence for any not to take a position. People don't assess their own conduct. Hold on a second. Just one more question. How old are you?
How old am I? 39.
Okay. Okay. Now we're bringing it on over to Rumble and the other platforms. Ending on ComicTube. Come on over, people. See you. All right, man. So you have an actual job, an actual business. You do this stuff for fun. Now, I'm not making an accusation, and there's no but to this. I figured I would wait until I discussed in person. I was told, or at least I get DMs, and it's like he had his TikTok accounts taken down because he was stalking people, and I'm like, I'm not jumping on that any more than I'm jumping on the Tates.
Sure.
But I figured you can probably answer that question. I don't know your history, and if you lie here, I presume people are going to find out.
Oh yeah, no, you can, just like Ian Carroll said, you can fact check me. No. So I went after one of these radical left creators who was basically just doxing people.
Who was it?
The Modern Warrior, Lance something, yeah, Native American guy. And what he would do was like some girl would wear like a white girl would wear a Pocahontas outfit for Halloween, and he had 4 million followers, and he would be like, this is Christina something, and she lives in blah blah blah. And then those people would go attack that person. And I made a joke, which was it really was a joke. And I was like, hey, is there any evidence that this dude's a pedophile? Because what he's doing is he's accusing everybody of being racist. Why can't I just accuse him of being a pedophile? And then he immediately, the first post he made was, this is Zach Bonfilio of San Antonio, Texas. This is his business. And then I just got inundated with a bunch of hate. And instead of doing what most people do, which is leaving the internet, because on TikTok, it's very easy to ban somebody. You just mass report them. I made another account. I had 118,000 followers. Within a week, I had 50,000 followers on the new one. That one got banned, made another one. That one got banned, made another one. And then I just sort of refused to leave. I would make 10 accounts a day. They would just mass report them. And it sort of became a little game of cat and mouse over about a year. And, I went through all of the propaganda campaigns. People would
hold on. I mean, just so you know, to me, this strikes me as very bizarre behavior. Why are you making 10 accounts, and what are you doing with those accounts once you create them?
It's actually a funny story. A lawyer reached out to me while this was all going on, and we sort of were trying to collect sort of a data set to see if TikTok was violating at the time, and it's still being sort of worked its way through courts. But there's a Texas law, House Bill 20, which is it prevents social media companies from banning people based off of their political views, and we would argue that that's what was happening. So at one point, my lawyer and I were discussing, and they were like, well, why don't you just keep making accounts, make them all day? And then I was having people in different states make an account that just said the Misfit Patriot. Within 10 minutes, that account would be banned. So
yeah, but that makes it, because it's algorithmic. You're bypassing a ban, which itself is a bannable offense, whether you agree with the ban or not.
Sure. Yeah. But what I'm saying is it was more to expose the censorship on the app rather than, putting it on me, because if there is a ban, if your original ban is an actual community guidelines violation, if you're doing something wrong, like if I was doxing people, if I was threatening people, harassing people, if I was, doing something like that, then you could make that argument that I'm avoiding a ban because, I was fairly removed from the internet, which I don't really think that you can be unless you commit an actual crime. So it was more of a fishing expedition. We did it for about a year, racked up 360 accounts, put together a lawsuit, and it's just very hard to sue TikTok. You can't really sue China. They have one court in California, and I would assume the judges are pretty much paid off, So, but it was fun while it lasted, and so anyway, that's where I got my reputation. Right. I am a shit talker. I don't back down from a fight. Something similar to what I'm doing now, where, I pick a topic that I think is very important. I think that, sex trafficking, especially when it involves minors, is a huge problem. And when I see something that I believe is a very prolific sex trafficker infiltrating the MAGA movement, I'm going to talk about it. And the response from that is I'm getting dragged. And I think yesterday, the Tate updates account said that I have been convicted multiple times of sexually abusing women. Completely untrue.
Well, let me ask you that, because I again, there's a chat. It's called, his name is Whipper7, says ask him why he's a felon.
I'm not.
What do they call it? Not turnaround, whatever. Fair game. Do you have a criminal record?
Not really. I have a criminal record. I don't have any felonies. I have traffic violation. I got a DWI, I think, in 2018 or 2017, which is the mugshot they used to claim that I was a sexual abuser. I've been in some fights, got some assault and batteries, never convicted.
Assault and batteries against other men fights.
Oh yeah. I was jumped by 3 people, and well, when the cops showed up, they weren't standing, and I was. So we're dealing with that, but I don't want to.
Well, and the reason I don't want to get into too much detail, just like it's interesting because in what you're doing with the Tates, I mean, people will do with you. So I mean,
sure. Hey, if you want to call out my past, my drinking and driving charge is just that. It's a charge. I went through the legal judicial process, but I will come out and tell you that I was drinking and I shouldn't have been. And I changed my behavior. I don't drink and drive anymore. Right. I live downtown for a reason. I don't even drink right now. I'm doing sober for 90 days just as like a personal challenge. But even if I was drinking, I don't drive anymore. Right. I learned my lesson. I changed my behavior. It's the opposite of what Andrew Tate is doing, right?
Well, I would argue that if they're guilty of what you say they can change their behavior all they want. That won't change anything. But I do want to highlight a bit of the absurdity. Is like, you were charged, so you were not convicted, or did you plead to a deal?
No, I wasn't convicted. We got it was brought down to a traffic violation.
Okay, so some people say guilty of DUI. You'll admit it. Some people
you can say that you have a valid argument, right? I think that the argument that you're making is from a legal perspective. You're a lawyer, yeah?
Not former, but yes,
former. Okay,
13 years.
So you're a former lawyer, right? And the argument that I'm making is from the court of public opinion, right? Look, did Luigi Mangione kill the United CEO? Worker or the United Healthcare CEO.
The video that they showed is not definitively Luigi Mangione. The only issue is that the defense on the left is not that he didn't do it, but that he was righteously justified in having done it. My argument would be, I do want to see better evidence of the person who pulled the trigger. Sure. I am suspicious of the orgy of evidence that they found on him. Mm-hmm. And he might just be a mentally unwell person who's an easy person to frame for whatever happened. Sure.
Okay, so what you're saying is you shouldn't accuse somebody unless they've been through the entire judicial process.
No, I'd say you can. My point is, you can have whatever opinions you want.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on with the Tates in particular, to me, actually, when you talk about inorganic growth and inorganic numbers for Ian, what it looks like to me is inorganic lynch mobs for anybody who would dare not even defend Tate per se. I know people do that, but defend due process. And if someone wants to get conspiratorial, they're going to say that it is a group of activists who are there to stir up shit among the right by demonizing I don't consider myself on the right, but I do consider myself to be a trustworthy voice by demonizing the trustworthy voices, because the number of jackasses, Misfit, who come from your account and that crayon murder guy who come and say Viva's defending sex traffickers, whatever her face is. The last time I ever spoke to her, Shanna Joy. I mean, it doesn't seem organic. And if one wanted to impute ill intent to a divisive behavior, you're public enemy number one, not me.
Do you not see why they have that opinion, though? I mean,
absolutely, I see why they have that opinion.
Well,
do I have any?
Hold on, you and Barnes were two lawyers having a conversation on a YouTube channel, saying that human trafficking is like from the movie Taken, completely ignoring that the vast majority of human trafficking is done through the method that Andrew Tate's accused of, the lover boy method. It's done through manipulation and grooming most of the time.
Well, but see, you could say that, and I remember the episode where Barnes said it's like Taken, and I appreciate that there is a psychological method of exploiting people. Do I consider that trafficking? You'd have to make a compelling argument, because then by that rationale, any form of pornography, it will just as easily be called trafficking. Any form of content that is XXX will be called trafficking.
Sure.
Now, I have said this all along. The lover boy law in Romania, the way it's drafted, would probably be unconstitutional in America. And it certainly sounds, by what Tate was describing, that he might have described what might be violative of that law in Romania, the lover boy law, assuming it's legally valid.
Sure.
You still need to go through trial, because otherwise what you are doing is saying the legal age of consent, legal decisions of adults mean nothing if I disagree with the age of consent in that country. And then I get to go and call someone the worst of the worst things on earth to say, well, he manipulated them, therefore their testimony, exculpatory testimony, will be disregarded because I say that they're victims and not actual bona fide witnesses attesting to Tate's innocence.
Okay, let me read you your own tweet from the September 27th, 2024. Hey, Stacey Plaskett, is this really an email from you graciously asking for the support of sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein? My question to you is, was Jeffrey Epstein ever convicted of sex trafficking?
He pleaded guilty to soliciting child prostitution in 2008. So I would consider that sufficiently close.
That's not sex trafficking.
That is trafficking in sex. And so you want to talk about...
That's not sex trafficking. That's prostitution. He pleaded guilty to prostitution.
It is soliciting child prostitution, which in my view is sufficiently accurate to call someone a sex trafficker.
Okay.
Did Cobra Tate plead guilty to child prostitution? Did he plead guilty to anything?
What about Diddy?
No, don't what about after you have your ass smashed on a bad...
You're not smashing my ass.
Did Cobra plead guilty to anything?
No.
Okay. So
did he admit on camera to doing it?
No,
yes.
We'll get there in a second. Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to child prostitution solicitation.
Prostitution is solicitation.
You may disagree with my colloquially equating the two. I think it's very factually and legally tenable. He was guilty of soliciting child prostitution. So when I call him a sex trafficker, after we have that entire file opened up, it is by no means analogous to calling Tate a sex trafficker who's been convicted of nothing and pleaded to nothing.
Well,
next try.
It is the same thing. All right, fine. Next try. Pizzagate was real. P. Diddy is the next iteration of Epstein. That's you from 12/17/2024. Has Diddy been convicted of sex trafficking?
No, but he was running, by all accounts, an extortion scheme. Well, read the tweet again, because I don't think you read the whole
Pizzagate was real. P. Diddy is the next iteration of Epstein. That's your words.
I know those my words, so don't put words that aren't in there. I sincerely believe
I'm reading it word for word,
and I'm telling you not to add words. There's nothing about sex trafficking in there. I believe it was an extortion ring, and I believe that P. Diddy is the next iteration of Epstein.
So you believe that Epstein was a sex trafficker based off prostitution?
He was, because he pleaded guilty to child solicitation.
And you believe that Diddy is the next iteration of Epstein.
But now you're confusing two things, because there are two different things here. Epstein pleaded guilty to sex trafficking as far as soliciting child prostitution, and he was running an extortion scheme.
Prostitution is not sex trafficking, by the way. I think that Epstein was a sex trafficker. Like I said, I am agreeing with you. He was. I'm just trying to understand how you can make this jump.
You're not trying to understand anything. What you are trying to do is discredit the source. You failed at that, and now you're moving to another target and not even sticking to the target.
You're saying I failed.
In that tweet, I'm equating the extortion ring, which I believe went under Epstein and believe went under P. Diddy. Because there's only so many reasons why you have cameras recording sex and having freak-offs with oil, even assuming the facts we all agree on. So it's not the sex trafficking that's equated there. It's the extortion scheme.
Well, you're making an accusation is the whole point. right? You're making an accusation against somebody that hasn't gone through the entire due process. That's my point.
Well, but you see, you throw in the word entire due process. Epstein went through a portion of due process, and even in that corrupt exoneration was still pleading guilty to child sex trafficking. In Diddy, I noticed you pull up some. In Diddy, I said, like, I can't even believe how weak the indictment is with Diddy, but I do believe that this was something of an extortion ring, and I do believe, put the word in there, believe. I'm not calling him Diddy. I don't think I've called him a sex trafficker, even if you find
your exact words. He is the next iteration of Epstein. Like I said,
but do you understand what you're doing now, or do you not understand it?
I understand that. I'm reading your words.
What is that Epstein? What am I referring to with Epstein there? Sex trafficking or extortion?
Okay. Well,
by that, am I calling Epstein Jewish?
What am I referring to when I call Andrew Tate a pedophile? Right?
You're referring to him having engaged in sexual activity with a minor.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's right.
And pleaded guilty to that.
Well, hold on. Is he on camera?
No. I didn't ask you that. I asked you if he pleaded guilty to that.
No, he hasn't pleaded guilty to anything.
Found guilty of that.
Your argument is you can't make accusations against people while you make accusations against people. That is what we're talking about.
Well, it depends on what the accusation is. I believe they're running an extortion ring is one accusation. They are a pedophile is a statement of fact.
Well, a statement of fact based off of visual evidence that I am looking at with my own eyes, right?
So Vivian, you understand the difference between a statement of fact and an observation and conclusion?
Okay, so what is your argument that what I'm saying is defamatory?
But yeah, I don't care about that. I think my argument right now is that you're running something of what I might call an inorganic lynch mob. It's
organic. Look, I will promise you, I believe what I'm saying. I promise you. Right, like you can choose to believe me or not, right? But the thing is, I fully believe that Andrew Tate is a pedophile sex trafficker, not based off of my opinion, based off of his own admissions on camera. I have watched him slap around a 15-year-old girl, Vivian, and yes, her age was confirmed. She was born September 25th, 1997. The video is uploaded in 2012. Do simple math. She's also on video in 2020.
You're doing the what we call the spaghetti on the wall here.
Why don't you let me finish my point, and then I will. You can spaghetti me all day, right? So Vivian's on camera in a video on YouTube from 2020 saying that her birthday is September 25th. The charging document in Romania has a victim of September 25th, 1997. Andrew Tate in the same video right after Vivian says, my birthday is September 25th, says, I've been with you 8 years. 8 years in 2020 would be 2012 when he met her, or at least when he was referring to how many birthdays he's had with her. You look at all this evidence, right? And you can come to a reasonable conclusion where a person, not based off of any convictions, right? Because I don't understand why you think I'm supposed to wait for the federal government to tell me if somebody's guilty after the shit show that I've seen with the Casey Anthony trial, the OJ Simpson trial, the Trump trial, a bunch of other fucking trials, right? You want me to wait for the federal government in fucking Romania or America to tell me whether or not somebody's guilty? Fuck that shit. I'm looking at it with my own eyes in 4K. Andrew Tate admits to sleeping with underage girls. The Protect Act of 2003, Section 105 says that any U.S. citizen that travels abroad and has sex with a girl under the age of 18 is guilty of a felony up to 30 years in prison, which is exactly why Andrew Tate got on a fucking plane and flew the fuck out of Florida today. So I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to wait for the federal government to tell me Andrew Tate's guilty. He is guilty. I'm looking at it.
Okay, first of all, you're entitled to your opinion. The amazing thing is you say, I'm not going to wait for the federal government or any government because they're corrupt as shit and they might find him innocent afterwards. So the government's corrupt if they prosecute, corrupt sometimes if they don't, corrupt if they acquit, corrupt if they convict. I'm sure you would concede that the government of Romania is less than kosher, if we can put it mildly. I'm sure you'd concede that the government of the UK is also less than what's the word? Oh geez, give me a word for this. You know what the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, on the up and up.
So let me, and this is where I enjoy it. You've done your own due diligence. You're comfortable with it, and that's fine.
Thank you.
You appreciate the legal difference. And the thing is this, this is the type of only discussion that we can have verbally, because it's nuanced to the point where something might be morally reprehensible, which is a subjective element of assessment, and something might be objectively legally illegal, whether or not you agree with the morality of the law.
Sure.
You know what the age of consent is in the UK?
16.
Okay. So you understand that from a legal perspective, the difference of a day, let alone a year, could be. And I want to preface this also. I don't morally agree with what they're doing, even if it's consensual, even if she's 16.
Yeah, gotcha.
The legal difference of a day, a month, or a year in terms of whether or not someone is a pedophile, in your opinion, versus let alone a convicted one, could be determinate.
Now, I want to be very clear. I'm using the term pedophilia in the general slang way that people use it, right? Attraction to minors, not the literal definition of attraction to prepubescent children, but you call people pedophiles when you think that they're attracted to minors. These are minors, and they're minors by my standard of America, right? Like, look, here's the deal. If somebody goes to the reason why the Protect Act was Section 105 was put in there was for situations like people like Americans who want to fly to Thailand and want to have sex with underage children or minors and then fly back. They are guilty of a crime here. Andrew Tate is an American citizen here. He's on camera multiple times in hours of interviews saying, "I sleep with girls who are 17." He says 16.
I want to pause you there. I'm going to look it up and encrypt this if you're listening. Does the Protect Act apply to the United Kingdom? I'm asking the question aloud. I don't know the answer.
It applies to every other country, but
I'm asking the question, and I'm not sure that you know the answer. If a 21-year-old or a 25-year-old goes to the United Kingdom and has sexual intercourse with a 16 or 17-year-old, is that prosecutable in America?
Yes.
You say yes. I'm not convinced.
Go ahead. No. Hey, if I'm wrong on that, then please, you can rebuke me.
Let me see.
It only applies to the U.S.
Say it again.
It only applies in the U.S.
Well, in the U.S., would it apply if a 25-year-old goes to the United Kingdom, and is it for the purposes of, or forget that aside, if a 25-year-old goes to the United Kingdom and has intercourse with a 17-year-old, let's just say 16, 17, which is the age of consent there, would the Protect Act, would they be able to be prosecuted under the Protect Act in America?
No, they would not be.
How so?
Just looking at the quick research, being as it has to be a crime in the United States.
Now, but the question is having sex with a 16-year-old.
Look at section 105.
Because this is where, I'm dispassionate in this, and maybe people say you should be passionate. I would be shocked, and I would be shocked if there were a law that criminalized any UK law and any Canadian law for that matter, because I think in Canada now the age of consent is 16. So
let me just read to you section 105.
No, but you don't. I mean, you're going to pull the same Adam Schiff thing about reading a section that says Kash Patel can disclose his. Neither of us, in this particular situation, have the answer to this question.
Like I said, you can verify this, but can I just read what it says? Because it just says authorizes fines and or imprisonment for up to 30 years for U.S. citizens or legal residents who engage in illicit sexual conduct abroad. Illicit sexual conduct means a sexual act as defined in section 2246 with a person under the age of 18, or any commercial sex act as defined in 1591 with a person under the age of 18. What that means is if you go abroad, right, and you have sex with a girl under the age of 18 and you're an American citizen, you can be prosecuted in America because this is an American law. It was signed into law in 2003.
Well, see, this is where, not to say that you're suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, this is where you would have to say, it's not. You're reading some letters of the law, and you might I don't have a sufficient understanding as to how this would be applied. And if it's a crime, it's a crime. I would be shocked if going to the UK, if abiding by UK law would be prosecutable in America. I'd be shocked.
It is. It's
no, because I know that this law was intended to ban people going for underage sex in Thailand. We have a similar law in Canada. And I'm just reading from Grok. I mean, Dr. Grok is not the best thing on this. Sure. It seems there might be some confusion. The Protect Act is a United States law enacted by U.S. Congress. Its jurisdiction applies within the United States to certain extraterritorial actions involving U.S. citizens. It does not directly apply to the United Kingdom, as the UK operates under its own legal framework. Fine, that's not really the question. The question would only be, if you were to do the hypothetical, a 25-year-old goes to the UK and has sex with a 17-year-old boy or girl. Could they, and has anyone ever been prosecuted for that in America? And this is only to establish if it's illegal, and then presumably they're going to have some issues.
I would assume that it's
where they were citizens at the time, however.
Sure, I would assume that it's prosecutable, right? Has that particular instance been prosecuted? We'd have to look it up.
Well, and where was he a citizen at the time?
He's always been a citizen of the United States.
But he has multiple citizens. Well, so I understand your point is to the extent that he's always been a citizen, if it were illegal, he could be prosecuted for that in America.
Yeah. And like I said, what I'm talking about is if I can see it, right? If I can see somebody admit it, let's say, all right, let me just pose this.
The question to be determined, this particular fact pattern, if a 25-year-old American is on vacation in the UK, has sex with a 16 or 17-year-old, which is the age of consent in the UK, but not in America, can they be prosecuted under the, what was it called?
Protect Act.
The Protect Act. That's the question. Anybody in the internet who can provide a definitive answer, an American lawyer,
if somehow you provide me more context where I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong.
No, but you'll be wrong in law, but you'll still be in your own mind. You'll be right morally because some people.
Well, I mean, morally, the question is not about morality because I'm looking through this in the lens of if me, a 39-year-old man, had a 15-year-old daughter and I watched what Andrew Tate did to her, we wouldn't be even talking about the law. We would be talking about where do I bury him, right? That's the moral standpoint. But from a legal perspective, he also is on camera admitting to multiple crimes, right? Including tax evasion, including sex trafficking, including sleeping with underage women.
Based on, well, okay, but we'll get to that in a second. Encryptus, what do you have?
So I do have a little bit more of an answer, and Mr. Patriot may be accurate in this one. So if a 25-year-old U.S. citizen travels to the UK and has consensual sex with a 17-year-old, this could potentially be prosecutable under U.S. law, depending on whether the act would be illegal under U.S. federal or state law. If U.S. federal law considers 18 as the threshold for illicit sexual conduct, prosecution is possible, even though the act was legal in the UK. And by the way, what I did here is I ingested all of the law into one of my AI tools. I summarized it and then asked the question appropriately for that. Just keep that in mind.
Ask the question if age of consent is a federal statute or a federal law or state law, because age of consent varies across states. In fact, I'd be curious to know.
Well, I believe federal.
What is the lowest age of consent at state law?
It's I think 16, but you have to be within 2 years. I want to say.
Well, that might be for positions of authority. I'm not sure because we have similar provisions under Canadian law.
It is state to state, but the Protect Act very specifically denotes anyone under 18 as a minor.
Yeah, and that's federal, so it trumps that. It trumps state law. So, like I said,
I would agree because not my argument. My understanding is let's even operating on the basis that they're 16 or 17. Then I could see exposure there under U.S. law.
Sure,
it'll minimize the argument, or at least you'll say, well, it's UK and Europe has always been.
Yeah, look,
more sexually open than the West.
I understand there are different cultures. I understand that there are different laws in different lands. What I have been arguing since the beginning. You see, I was an Andrew Tate fan not long ago. Actually, the wool was pulled over my eyes like so many others because he's an incredible messaging. Like he's really good at deflection, gaslighting, this, that, and the other. For instance, when the Vivian girl I told you, whose age has been verified, it's been verified in the UK, it's been verified in Romania. He made a tweet that said, yeah, I hope somebody tries to call her 16 because I'll go to the courthouse right now with her passport. He never did. Right. But
because that's a silly thing to draw a conclusion.
I'm not drawing a conclusion. I'm providing you further context into my train of thinking. Now, okay. By the way, this is not the smoking gun. The smoking gun is the video. Okay. The smoking gun is watching him beat up a verifiable 15-year-old, and 15-year-olds cannot consent. Okay, they can't consent in the UK right now. The law in Romania, they can't consent in Romania. Right? There's more than one 15-year-old victim, by the way. There's one that's named in the Romanian lawsuit where they claim that he had anal sex with her. Now, there's so much evidence. I don't know how deep you've dug into this. I can see where you are trying to make a defense for the law because that is.
I'm not trying to make a defense for anything.
You're trying to make a defense for due process, though.
No, what I'm trying to maybe cause people to analyze what they think is a foregone conclusion of guilt. You're taking statements that he made online plus calculations that you've done to say that she was definitively fit. That is not definitively by any means.
Okay.
It's not definitively, it's not demonstrably. And if you're off by a year, at least in the UK, it makes for the difference between a crime and not a crime.
Sure.
So you say, because you keep saying it definitively, demonstrably. Yeah, well, we've done the calculations. She said here in a podcast from 2010 that whatever.
No, I will give it to you. I would have to take all of the evidence that I just explained, and I would have to make a very, very small jump I'm taking a very small chance that all of this evidence that's literally pointing to that dude's beating up a 15-year-old is not beating up a 15-year-old.
Well, I mean, first of all, if I may, if you want, this is the issue. If let's just say she's an adult under UK law, and then because you're right, you cannot consent to assault. Period. Even as an adult. If she's an adult and she's consenting to it, and that is the steelman, that they're doing it for a camera. It's not like they don't know that there's a camera rolling, that they're doing some sort of whatever stupid role playing that they're doing. That's the argument. Sure. If she's 15, that argument no longer applies.
Correct.
Which is why, and he's 25 at the time, and I appreciate that that's a big age difference, but that's not call me whatever pervert you want. 25 to 16, 25 to 17, it will be a problem from a parental perspective. Sure. But my best friend's parents were 20 years apart. I don't know when they met. I don't think she was 1 and he was 21 when they met. So depending on when it happens,
I think the amount of distance between age is not really relevant if they're both adults, right? And an
adult in the UK would be 16, whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not it's a look.
There's a position of authority provision, as far as I understand, under UK law.
I think that even the people in the UK, right, would probably agree with this sentiment that just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. Like if the law,
I don't think anything about this is right, by the way.
Correct. Listen, I want to say something to you, because we did get back and forth into it like a month or so ago. I do not think that you are defending Tate for some nefarious reason, like you're paid off or anything like that. I really believe that I can always respect somebody if I believe that they believe what they're saying is true. Right. And I hope that you feel the same way about me. I believe what I'm saying is true.
Oh, no, I have no doubt. I actually just want to, I see all caps, false prophet says Viva showing his lack of understanding in US legal code and where it applies. This is what people don't understand. I don't claim to have knowledge of the US legal code.
You can't memorize it.
I'm a Canadian lawyer, and I didn't do criminal law as a practice. I just know what questions I would be asking. Sure. And the question I'm asking, it's not an assertion, and it's not about being right or wrong. It's just about getting the information out there. Is it illegal to go? Because the Indonesian Thai boy stuff is we're talking children. Sure. Where it's at state levels. I don't know if there's a state that has a 16-year-old age of consent. Would it be? And now it seems that it might be prosecutable if an adult goes to the UK and abides by their age of consent under the Protect Act.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be right, and I'm not trying to show off.
No, I don't think. I think that's a cheap dig, right? It's like when people
just want to address it, but
it's like when people say, if you don't memorize the Bible, and then somebody gives you a pass from the Bible, and you can't immediately, debunk.
Well, but if you purport to be an expert in the Bible and you can't, then I
I never purport to be an expert in the Bible. I just dealt with this last week. But anyway, no. Look, here's the deal. Coming at it from a perspective of morality and saying this person's a pedophile, because I truly believe it to be true. The same way, and like the tweet that you pulled up, I believe Casey Anthony killed her kid. Okay,
yeah, I'm not even on the fence about that one. I say like there's an entire possibility where the kid died from whatever she thought was neglect, and then they panic and dispose of the body. She's
responsible. Yeah, she's responsible for the death of her child. Is more
or the. I mean, it's not inconceivable. The kid died, and she thought it was her fault, and then she panicked and disposed of the body. She's guilty of something. There's no question in my book.
Sure, but, and I'll give you that. Maybe I should have worded it differently, but I think that we can't. I mean, we really need to get out of the habit of I would say fact checking to this like ridiculous standard of you said it, so you meant it. Look, I meant she killed her kid. Okay. If I misspoke, you're hearing me say it now. Maybe murder from the legal perspective is not the definitive thing. Well, what I'm saying definitively about Andrew Tate is definitively, according to US law. All right. I believe that he is guilty of violating the Protect Act. According to my moral standard on what is and isn't a pedophile, he is a pedophile, right? That's fucking point blank and period. According to his own admissions, where he says, I took these girls, I took their money, I only paid them this much. And he's admitting to sex trafficking. It's like
here's the issue, and I'm coming from a more objective position than you, I should say, because I've never been a Tate fan ever at any point in my life. I remember the videos where he's saying the woman of my property, and I'm talking to these young boys like, where are you hearing this shit? This is back in the day before he decided to go
his language doesn't bother me at all.
But the stupid lessons are what bother me. Not now he wants to go to British restoring underlying values, and I can appreciate he wants to be on the morally righteous side of things now. But his advice historically, I've never been a fan. Period. So I never approached it with I like him, so I've got to defend him. Yep. What I approach it as is he's always been something of an idiot in terms of what he says online. If your new standard now is he admitted to the crime because he said it on recording, well, then you have to go and apply the same rules to Donald Trump. And it's exactly what they said about the grab him by the pussy video.
No,
he said it. He said it.
That's a false equivalency.
No, you say it is because you're trying to justify yours, and I'm saying this is exactly what they said about Donald Trump.
No, I'm not trying to justify anything. It's a false equivalency, right? Because Andrew Tate is teaching a course in how to sex traffic women. Donald Trump didn't teach a course in how to sex traffic women. He said locker room talk on a bus.
Your sex trafficking is the legal conclusion already. He's talking about video cam industry, which is a shit industry. Full stop.
So have you done the deep dive and actually really like looked at some of the evidence that I'm referring to?
I've looked at that. I don't want to say everything because I had.
Yeah, there's a lot. You can't.
I've looked at your smoking guns, Crayon Murder smoking guns, a blurred video that looked like it was shot on a potato from Lord knows when.
Well, that blurred video is verified, so
Lord knows what they're doing. But then when you get into the age of consent, set aside the Protect Act. Whether or not they were role playing, doing it for a camera that they knew was rolling and recording that thing, not my stuff. 50 shit. I gave Cernovich a hard time back in the day when I had him on, and I was like, "How can you have this guy on? He's on videos talking about strangling women." And some people are into really bizarre shit, and it's not.
Yeah. No,
but no, a 16-year-old girl, I'm going to be very suspicious as to whether or not 16 could even consent to that type of.
I don't think they can. I don't think that their brains are fully developed enough.
Well, but neither's a 25-year-old boy. But that doesn't mean they don't get held responsible for their own decisions.
I understand completely. Now, like I said, what I'm trying to convey to you is that my accusations, right? My accusations are based off of a preponderance of evidence. For instance, all of the evidence that I've seen, people keep on talking about release the Epstein files. We need to know what happened. And I'm assuming that you want to put yourself in the position of, if I was a jury on this trial, would I find him guilty or not guilty? Putting myself in that situation, based on the evidence that I've seen that's publicly available, we haven't even seen everything from the Romanian case, but what's already publicly available, then it is a slam dunk. Yes, I would not even allow a jury to try to convince me it's not. Right. So
yeah, but it's a wonderful thing. And then if it doesn't happen, you'll say the Romanian courts are corrupt and you'll stick to your conclusion regardless. Just want to
no. There is nothing you could do to change my mind.
Yeah. Well, that's,
like there's
at least you can.
I've seen it. Like, that's what I'm saying.
I just want to address one thing here on the chat on the Rumble side, where that's not what Trump said in the video. I know what Trump said in the video. I've been defending what he said in that video for years. I'm telling you what they say he said in that video.
Yeah, that's why I said it's. Yeah,
they said you grab him by the pussy, and he's explaining his own assault. Then they say he was found liable by a court, therefore you can call him a rapist. So what I'm saying is, if you want to apply this, he's on camera saying it. A court adjudicated that he's a rapist. Well, then you got to apply it around the bit, or you go case by case, which is what I do.
Yeah, it's still a false equivalency because you're not contextualizing, right? Again, facts without context. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not contextualizing, right?
You're contextualizing is going to be it was a corrupt court.
No, the context is Andrew Tate taught a course called the PhD course, the Pimping Hose Degree. He taught it. He made it. He is the one who said all these things. This is how you pimp out women, right? Pimping is illegal. Pimping is sex trafficking. There's no argument that he is a self-admitted pimp. And what is pimping? It's sex trafficking. So when I say he's a sex trafficker, he says he's a sex trafficker.
Again, because we're getting into pimping, the illegal act, versus what someone might, because they're idiots, describe as the webcam industry.
Holding a woman in a house against her will, right? The Jane Doe, which isn't really a Jane Doe, her identity is known. The Jane Doe in Florida, right, was flown out to Romania. She was only there for about 4 or 5 days. And what happened, the reason why Andrew Tate was indicted in the first place, she was flown out just like he's done so many other times with so many other different women. She witnessed what she thought was sex trafficking. She told her friend, who was a Marine. The Marine is the one that alerted the Romanian authorities. That woman has been harassed, doxxed, and threatened by Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate just came to Florida last week and filed a restraining order against her because he's still trying to intimidate her. She has not recanted. She has stuck by her claim. 7 women in the Romanian case, 3 of them have recanted because I don't know, and this is an assumption, I don't know if you know how pimps and hoes work, but usually there's a bit of Stockholm syndrome, and they'll never admit that they're actually trafficked. They're not actual victims, but fucking 3 or 4 of them actually haven't recanted. They are sticking by their claim. Andrew Tate choked me until the blood vessels in my eyes burst. That is witness testimony. If I believe it's from.
I know. Now, may I ask the question? Were there medical reports?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe they have.
But I believe so. Versus maybe, and not knowing that, and you're the one in this, not knowing that.
Yeah, you just told me you were mad that you don't know every detail of U.S. law. I don't know every detail of the case.
When your evidence is a statement within the absence of
I'm telling
the
you,
actual evidence, which would be a medical report if that were the case, there's a big problem.
Viva, this is what I'm doing. Okay, look, I'm giving you this, and then 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 I'm giving you this, and you're going, it's not enough.
No.
Right? Like I'm stacking the evidence.
I asked you a straightforward question. You said he choked me to the point of bursting blood vessels. I read that segment as well.
I believe she had pictures, if I remember correctly.
Okay. And now, has there ever been a case? I mean, I know you think now the more numbers that you have, the more definitive the evidence. Has there ever been a case
Tiger Woods? I'm not saying that.
When women have said such things and claimed medical reports, like with Pete Hegseth.
Absolutely. Okay. It happens all the time, which is why Andrew Tate is banking on people dismissing the real evidence and just saying women.
What's the real evidence? The real evidence.
I just told you a bunch,
okay.
right? I just told you
the real evidence is the internet doing the math and.
No,
if it turns out that she's 15, it's black and white. If it turns out that she's 15, thus goes any legal defense. Set aside morality.
There's more than by the way, there's more than one 15-year-old victim, by the way. Okay. There's another one who is remaining anonymous, who was essentially the Romanian court says she's a victim because she is, right? But she's claiming she's not, right? So look, I'm not going to take just court documents as verifiable fact. I just told you I don't trust the judicial system fully and entirely. So while you're stacking plausible, right, explanations that what you're essentially, and don't take this as an insult, I'm not insulting you, you're acting essentially as his attorney in a defensive position, where I'm acting more in the prosecutorial thing, where I'm presenting the evidence, and you're saying, well, how could we explain this away?
I'm testing your research. So
sure,
I'm
glad
verifiably, demonstrably of a certain age, which would make it objectively a crime. And I say, well, what's the evidence? Well, we've tracked out the dots of podcasts and statements that he's made.
Again, right?
She suffered a burst blood vessels as a result of whatever. But by the way, it might even be true. If this is consensual, lawful conduct, you're a fact again without context. And now look who's might be guilty of propaganda.
Well, there's also audio of Andrew Tate leaving a voicemail for that victim where he says, "Oh, I only choked you a little bit." So there's evidence of choking. And this girl is afraid of him, right? And he left her a message saying, "I thought you were cool. I can't believe you. Like I didn't choke you till you passed out. I only there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that I am adding in with what I believe is verifiable, undeniable.
There is circumstantial evidence that you are adding in that will justify your foregone conclusion.
Well,
now,
no,
I appreciate you're saying my conclusion is as a result of the evidence, not
my conclusion is based off of verifiable fact, right? My conclusion is based off verifiable fact. That's point blank period. Okay. My conclusion is that Vivian has been confirmed to be 15. Andrew Tate is on camera beating the shit out of her. That's a verifiable fact, right? It's not my opinion. It's
No, I'm sorry, on camera beating the shit out of her quite literally is your opinion. I'm not playing that video, by the way, because Misfit, if it is what you say it is, you publishing it and republishing it qualifies as publishing child pornography. So you might want to think, by virtue of the fact that you haven't been charged for distributing child pornography, that maybe she was of the age of consent in whatever country it was. So beating the shit out of her is not a verifiable fact. It is your opinion. There's a video of him, if you want to do it objectively, slapping her with a belt and asking her if she said the word.
But if she's 15, she can't consent to that.
I agree with you. And your evidence that your evidence that she's 15 is
her own admission. Well, it's her own admission of a video where in 2023, one of her Instagram followers asks, "How old are you?" She says, "I'm 26." Right, 2023. Right, and then you deduct her age. That would put her at 14, actually. In 2012. So there's more than one instance. I'm not just going off of a court document. Vivian herself on 2 separate occasions has verified her age. Right.
Rockstar is asking, where's the vid? I know that Ruben quote tweeted someone who retweeted it.
Nathan Livingstone, Milk Bar TV has
and Yada Yada Mama, who seems to be understanding nothing of this, says, Viva, are you freaking accusing this man of spreading child pornography while defending Andrew Tate? I mean, I swear, Viva, I shouldn't focus on people who are either deliberately not understanding anything or incapable of understanding it. What I'm saying, Yada Yada Mama, is that if Misfit is right, it is a crime to knowingly distribute or republish child pornography. And so
it's not, well, what if it's for a reason of
there's no caveat to that. It's the whole problem with the Epstein files. Even if you had the evidence, there would be no way of diffusing it without violating.
But you know what?
And by the way, I'm not accusing you of anything.
I know.
What I'm suggesting is that might be a cause for question for people.
I think that I will take the risk, because I think that Andrew Tate should, in fact, sue me for distributing child pornography, because it would verify that the woman in the video is.
Oh, it wouldn't be civil. It would be criminal. He wouldn't. He might sue you for defamation, but then the reality is he might be. I forget the word now. Not defamation proof. That is the concept. Or he might have said a number of things that will make that will allow people to have a reasonable personal opinion. Yeah. That he is guilty of this.
He's a public figure, and I believe what I'm saying, so I don't think he could win a defamation.
No one's going to accuse you of not having, even if it turns out to be factually incorrect, not having sufficient basis to say it. And certainly the actual malice will not be there. And
I appreciate that.
He said things which I wouldn't say publicly what I wouldn't say to anybody privately. He said things that might be very, very incriminating. Him describing his business model, however I feel about that disgusting, repugnant business, sounded like it might be very close to violating the law in Romania. The lover boy provisions sound like you get a girl to fall in love with you, you use them commercially, and that's the lover boy provisions.
Sure.
Whether or not it's a constitutional law is a separate issue. Don't do business in Romania.
And he's also on camera saying, I do everything through Bitcoin because I don't pay taxes, right? So he's also being prosecuted for tax evasion as well, and money laundering. He's got text messages between him and some of his girls saying, I'm laundering this money. So there's more than just the pedophilia, there's more than just the sexual abuse, there's more than just the trafficking. You could essentially lock Tate up for a self-admission. And again, one of the arguments that I was making to somebody else was, if somebody, like the argument that people had of DeSantis looking into him when he landed in Florida, people are freaking out about that, and I'm wondering why. If somebody was on camera, right, saying, I robbed a bank in Romania, and then they flew into Florida, is it communism to investigate that? Right?
I agree. By the way, you will notice that I didn't jump on the bandwagon of saying, why is this? Let them investigate.
Sure.
There is an element always where we don't trust the government, but maybe we trust DeSantis more, so it won't be politically motivated. Some people will question the timing, but it doesn't do very good. It doesn't do much good to investigate someone who's not in your jurisdiction, or at least hasn't raised that flag. But investigate, fine. I'm not.
There's nothing wrong if you're not guilty. Like I said, and this is not proof of anything. But Andrew Tate did fuck off out of America right after he heard that. He was on camera last week saying, "I'm going to stay in Florida for a while," and then yesterday it was, "I'm only going to be here a few days," and then today he's like, "Bye, I'm out of here." And so it looks a little bad, but there's no evidence of anything just by just by him leaving, one could come to a conclusion when he was
by him leaving to go back to Romania. I wouldn't deduce guilt because I mean
there's also the Candace Owens interview where he was like, "You think I don't wipe my phone every night?" It's like he's not doing himself any favors by talking, right? So when he gets up there, and he actually reshared two of the posts where they were calling me a sexual abuser. So I do find it ironic and funny that he claims that people are accusing him without evidence when he's resharing something that is a clear lie about me. It's hypocrisy, right? Not criminal. Lying's not criminal most of the time. So I do have a vested interest in this. I am biased. I will give you that. I don't lie. Okay. If I'm talking about something, it's because I personally care about it. Okay. I had a come to Jesus moment when the movie Sound of Freedom came out. I've told this story. I literally felt God in the movie theater. I went to church the next day. Right. Sex trafficking is my red line in the sand. It's something that I take very seriously. I used to be a Tate fan. I used to buy into the propaganda. I sort of was willfully ignorant, ignored everything that everybody was saying. And then I saw the video with Vivian. I saw the rage, I guess you could say, in his eyes. It's not acting. I don't care if you guys want to try to justify it away as rough sex or sex play. It's fucking weird. Anybody that puts their hand on a woman, I don't care if it's role playing or not. You got something fucking wrong with you.
Let me just ask you something though. That video which you posted, and people can go see it. By the way, someone said if you were indicted on that, then it would be good evidence that Tate.
Yeah, we're both going down.
All that I'm suggesting is that by virtue of the fact that video is freely available, that might be a cause for question as to whether or not there were any minors in that video. Set that aside.
Sure.
In that video, they were knowingly doing this in front of a camera, correct?
Yes. Again, and you can make the argument that it was. I'm
not making any argument. I'm just asking.
No, not you. The proverbial you.
No, but we'll ask the question. If someone is assaulting violently a woman, do they do it in front of were they broadcasting live when they did it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're so confident, right? So look at this, right? Let's say Vivian, right, was 16 in the video. Let's say she was of legal age. She had already gotten comfortable enough with that type of behavior to do it in front of a camera. She had already had a tattoo put on her groin area that said Tate's property. And he's on camera saying, I brand my women. They're my property. I would say that it's a reasonable assumption, and I will clarify this is an assumption, that he met her a long time before that video was filmed, right? You don't just meet and then a month later you're like, hey, I'm going to whip you with a belt in front of my brother who's filming it, right? That's just an assumption, right? But it's a pretty damn good one. I mean, I got a lot of tattoos. I know it takes weeks and weeks for them to heal. And I'm pretty sure that you couldn't meet, again, another assumption, pretty sure you couldn't meet some guy and within the first month, let him brand you. So again, putting the circumstantial stuff like that in with the factual evidence of her admitting her age and doing simple math to figure out when the video was uploaded, how old she says she is, how old it says she is in the indictment, how old he said she is, and then adding the circumstantial of, well, she got a fucking tattoo and she's comfortable with being whipped on fucking camera. You could probably come to a reasonable assumption that she was maybe 14 when they met, and that's even worse. So I'm just saying, man.
Well, look,
Tate will have his day in court. The preponderance of evidence for court should be 100% higher. It should be beyond a reasonable doubt, right? The court of public opinion is for everybody's subjective view, depending on how much evidence you've seen, depending on your bias, depending on what you believe. I'm telling you that if I was sitting on a jury against Andrew Tate, right, objectively, seeing the evidence that I have seen, there is no fucking way I wouldn't recommend the maximum penalty for what he has been accused of. It's clear to me, and maybe it's not clear to you, and everybody else is different, but it's clear to me that he is a sex trafficking pedophile, and I will die on that hill.
Well, Elon Musk got off the defamation case when he called the guy in Thailand a pedophile. Who was it that he called a pedophile?
I don't know. Was it Elon Musk?
It had to do with the submarine into the cave when the Thai kids were stuck in the cave. No, so and because we're talking context, and I mean it's a salient fact, not context. They were live broadcasting whatever the hell they were doing.
Sure.
She's 16. Let's just say she's 16. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 17. I don't know. But let's just operate on the basis 16. You make a decent point. That type of behavior doesn't occur overnight. She might have been a messed up 14-year-old, nothing to do with Tate. But if you're going to recruit girls for a webcam industry, you're not going to get the most well-balanced 16.
No, that's who you target. Yeah.
So, which is why I think the morality of this is a totally separate issue. And whether or not you're asking for massive trouble by even operating in these fields, I happen to believe you're asking for massive trouble just by not keeping your schmeckel in your pants.
Well, no, that's what I hope happens. I want Andrew Tate to sue me. I would love it because then I get discovery. Look, I will take the risk of me being wrong and going and getting a charge for, I guess, what you just said, distributing child pornography, even though I didn't believe at the time that I was doing that. If it would prove that he is a actual pedophile, I would go to jail if I could prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did what he did, and then he gets to go to jail.
If he did what he did, you wouldn't go to jail. I mean,
exactly.
If he did what he did, you don't get sentenced.
I think that a prosecutor would be like, I think we're going to let you slide on this one, Misfit. Hey, man, I do got to go back to work.
Okay. Well, this was fruitful. By the way, do you know Murder Crayons or Crayons Murder?
Well, just by the internet, you know.
Because I happen to not like he's an ass. Like, period.
I'm gonna say something, man. I'm gonna take not your side, but I'm gonna take the side of right and wrong. You said something earlier, like Murder by Crayons and these other people. They got followers coming after you. I hope that none of them are my followers because I try to make it a point to my followers, don't harass people. If you disagree vehemently with somebody, you don't have to attack them. I don't think that I attacked you too hard.
I think you discredit you did damage to your own theory by thinking you found a smoking gun with that stupid ass picture, and that you just discovered that Robert.
Well, hey man,
I have an amazing one of the biggest podcasts on Rumble for 5 years. Yeah, big smoking gun you got.
Hold on, before I go, let's talk about that. Let's explore why. I didn't make any accusations. I made
I just think you made it. It's like you just thought you discovered something new.
No. I don't think that I was the one that accused you. I didn't accuse you. I never actually said that I never put you in that photo where they're all sitting in the thing. I didn't do that. I did say that you have Barnes, who has a YouTube video where it says something along the lines of Andrew Tate, innocent or something like that. The implication of the headline was in defense of Andrew Tate. You have a picture of Barnes with Andrew Tate at, what was it, CPAC or something like that. And then you have the both of you on camera discussing sex trafficking, saying, oh, it's only like Taken. When you put those three things together, somebody can, like what I did, ask the question, hey guys, why are you protecting this guy? And I'm not saying you're doing it intentionally or nefariously.
You want to talk about, well, I don't even accuse it of cherry picking. If you surmise anything from a YouTube video headline without watching the clip, and I'm not hiding anything. Barnes and I defend.
I don't believe you are.
We defend the process and what looks like a selective prosecution.
Here's what I'll ask, Romania. Viva, how many times have you, and you may give me a good answer on this, how many times have you come out and gone after people the way you kind of chastise me for calling Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile, right? Like there are so many people on the internet that call Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile. There are so many people.
But he was an admitted pedophile.
But that's what I'm saying. He's never been convicted. Your argument is
that's not true. He pleaded guilty to soliciting child prostitution in 2008.
You know what? Good point.
Bad example.
Bad example. Diddy. Right.
I don't think I've called Diddy a pedophile. In fact, I said I was sort of surprised that there were no accusations or allegations of pedophilia or minors in his indictment.
And Hunter Biden, right? You know, like Hunter Biden.
I always told people don't say that he's a pedophile because the woman in that video was overage. I defended Hunter. Hold on.
Yeah, no. I'm
not the book there. I've always defended Hunter. No one accused me of being a Hunter defender when I said that.
That's fair enough. You know, and like I said, you might give me the answer that I want to hear. Joe Biden, you know, with the Ashley Biden diary saying that my father showered with me and made me feel uncomfortable.
She said it. I mean,
she said it,
that's
right?
Nothing more than that.
So what I'm saying is, and maybe people are just seeing it, but it would appear to some people, not necessarily me, it would appear to some people, maybe based on their own biases, that you look, maybe not that you are, but that you look like you're selectively cherry picking the people that are coming after Tate when not coming after other people. That might be what people are making.
it almost seems like mindless bot idiots. Oh, Viva's defending Tate. The
Sure,
number of those tweets.
Don't dismiss people. People have their reasons. You know.
No, I think that there might actually be other plays at other forces at play here to try to destabilize the conservative movement. Maybe even by
I think Tate's one of them.
He might not. He might be someone who might see opportunity. He might be trying to redefine himself. You get to be a certain age, and I'm sure you regret shit that
Andrew Tate has been verified of paying content creators to spread his messaging. He's got Soleimani, who's going after one of his victims in Florida. He's got Ryan, I think it's Ryan Dawson.
What's the evidence of that? I mean, that's a pretty serious accusation.
There's a text message between Myron Gaines and Ryan Dawson where Ryan Dawson says Andrew Tate pays better. Like he's literally.
How do you know that that's just not a tongue-in-cheek?
Well, there's also Anastasia, Dr. Lupus, I think her name is. She's saying Andrew Tate paid my bills.
Do you know who Dr. Lupus? Now you're going to trust what Dr. Lupus says?
No. What I'm saying is
she's a certifiable nutbag.
She's a fucking insane person.
But you can't. I mean, some of these people make. Again, I'm not defending anyone. Just like ask the lot. It's tongue-in-cheek, or you're trusting people who are batshit crazy.
No. I'm not trusting. I'm taking what I believe is evidence because hey, you said this and you defend Tate, so people that are defending Tate are also admitting that Tate pays them money.
I do appreciate it would be very hard to prove the payment. It's not like SEC stuff where
did Andrew Tate pay the money, or are they just clout chasing? I don't know, but people that defend Tate are saying that Tate paid the money. That is a fact. Okay, two different people verified, Ryan Dawson and whatever the crazy chick with the facelift is.
She was good on COVID. It was funny. I was just talking about someone like she was good on COVID, but
yeah,
I think she's entitled to her belief. Anybody caught retweeting actual Hamas propaganda, I will lose respect in their good judgment.
Well, yeah, it got Andrew Tate saying Yahya Sinwar was a warrior and a hero, and it's like, no, he was a terrorist.
Yeah,
so
people are entitled to have bad opinions.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean,
Lupus. She said, I'm not saying shut her down. I'm just saying when I've known people who actually reposted outright Hamas, but is a legit Hamas propaganda, and I'm pretty objective when it comes to that conflict, then I lose trust in their judgment.
Yeah, you know what? I said this about people that are bitching about the Ian Carroll thing. I just posted, you know what? I'm not going to find it. I'll paraphrase. I posted, I go, I don't see, everybody's calling for this to be taken down, and everyone's saying, why are you platforming Ian Carroll? Why are you doing this? I've never been of that, even though I disagree with Ian Carroll vehemently. I want these people platformed. I think that the only way to combat ideas that you disagree with is to give other ideas, right? Like use your voice. Don't silence theirs. Use yours.
No, let them speak. You are a very sensible person in a long format discussion. Yeah. I did the problem is you get associated with a murder crayon, whatever that guy's name is. Yeah. And people are going to think less of you just by association. Hey. You're a reasonable, thoughtful, and you've done your own homework, and I'm sure you're confident with your decision. And I still will wait.
We'll agree to disagree on that. And one thing I think that this interview confirmed what I had suspected. I give you and everyone else the benefit of the doubt. I'm not immediately going to say Andrew Tate's paying Viva Frei. No. I think that you believe what you're saying. And
someone who accused me of RT paying. Trust me, I probably left. I didn't know you could do these things.
Dude, apparently I'm being paid by Israel. All right.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, by the way, because you've just mentioned church. You're not half Jewish.
No. I'm a Christian conservative. I'm a Catholic technically, but I don't really go to Catholic church. I started speaking out about the Israeli war because I remember 9/11, right? And the terrorists were the ones that were slaughtering the Jews. I also am a Christian. I believe in Genesis, where, I will bless thee that bless them. From a religious standpoint and an anti-terrorist standpoint, I picked a side, and I don't regret my decision at all. There is, I get lumped in with people that are pro-Israeli government. I'm not pro any government, including my own. I think that there is probably some truth to some shady shit in the Israeli government, but there's also truth to shady shit in the UK government, the American government, the fucking Romanian government, the French government, all of it. So from my perspective, I think that every radical Islamic terrorist on the planet should be eradicated and exterminated. I think that the Israeli government is doing that. So yay. But as far as being, some shill for Israel or some secret Mossad agent, suit don't fit. I got to go back to work and
go. Now, Bonfantino, but I forget your first name now.
Zach Bonfilio.
Zach Bonfilio. Good. Okay, Zach, I will be able to remember that. I apologize. I'm bad with names, and I've been looking at Misfit. Zach, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, sir.
It was a good discussion.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. Go. Enjoy the day.
Have a good one.
Peace out.